Good afternoon, Visa. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so we are really pleased to have you with us. As I understand, Visa, you had a phenomenal 3 decades of career in the healthcare industry. We would love to hear more about it from you. So you are currently the founding managing partner at Tata Capital for the last 17 odd years. And under your leadership, Tata Capital has been rewarded with multiple awards, and you've also been recognized as the top 100 women in finance. Plus, you also co-authored multiple books. So, would love to hear more from you on your journey so far before we get into the specific questions on the healthcare industry.
Oh, thank you so much, Vishal, for having me here, and thanks a lot to the Productivity team as well. Essentially, in one sentence, if I say my journey is that from being a bench chemist, I started as a career as a research scientist with Cipla, and then moving on to public markets equity research, where I spent about 15, 16 years, and then now for the last 17 years, been on the fund management side in healthcare.
Right.
So all in all, it's been a healthcare experience across 3+ decades.
Wow, that's amazing. So, Visa, in terms of your experience in the healthcare industry for last 3 decades, how have you seen the industry shape up as an investor, right? You've seen it from the lens of an investor now. So
Sure.
How have you seen the industry evolve?
Sure. So let me maybe talk about, given the fact that now that as an investor, we have spent nearly about 16, 17 years, and also the fact that we've got the opportunity under the Tata platform to start a dedicated healthcare and life sciences private equity fund. So our investment philosophy right from inception as an investor has been to limit downsides and have a very disciplined portfolio construct, right? So one is we are a growth capital investor, and the ticket size would vary across different vintages. But as a growth capital investor, we've been investing across the entire spectrum of healthcare and life sciences. So we would look at, within the sector, we would be agnostic. So we would look at healthcare, we look at pharmaceuticals, we look at medtech, we look at healthtech, etc. And what is very key, as we have evolved as an investor, I think this concept of being a very responsible investor has been very key. And so very consciously, we've also sort of aligned our investing philosophy with certain SDG goals, and especially SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, is something which is very, very core to us as this. And if you ask me from again as an investor, if I have to just be a little more specific, our portfolio construct also has followed the theme of what I would say as a consumption theme as well as a competency theme. So consumption theme is companies have cash flows generating from the home market.
This is domestic consumption.
Which is largely domestic consumption.
Right.
And competency theme is something where you have companies which are outward focused, or where there is a niche capability in terms of, say, your technology, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of customers, etc., where a majority of the cash flows are coming from.
Delivered globally.
Yes, this could be a CDMO business, etc. So that's the way we have evolved, and I think it's been a great journey so far.
Right. Excellent. And in terms of the thesis, the investment thesis that you followed over the last 3 decades, has that changed or evolved?
So the thesis is, I would say, mainly it's sharpened, as I talked about, the 2 core themes, but it has sharpened in terms of the themes that we address across these 2 core platforms, right? We could look at companies where there is a huge unmet need.
Right.
We could look at where technology is playing a role in terms of addressing certain pain points in the industry. We could look at where you are looking at diversification into multiple therapy areas, or where there is, you're going from a regional focus to a pan-India kind of a focus.
Right.
Or we could look at where there is an India indigenization theme at play, like,
Right.
a medical devices kind of a thing. So these were some of the core themes, I would say, the sub-themes that we have followed. And I want to maybe just spend a minute giving you some specific examples across these themes. As I talked about, we are investing across, the three verticals: pharmaceuticals, healthcare services, and medtech and health tech. So, and especially in our last, the fund which we are currently managing, which is Tata Capital Healthcare Fund 2, we have built a portfolio of 10 market leading companies. In the pharmaceutical space, we have, 4 companies, which is now about 50% of our overall portfolio. So, I want to specifically name, companies like Orbicular, which is in the cutting edge of pharmaceutical R&D development, product development. And it's an US focused CDMO or business doing a lot of, I think, would say, innovative products. They invest nearly close to about 200 crores in R&D on an annualized basis. On the other hand, we have just a domestic focused but a fast growing, I would say, a domestic formulations company, a company by name Linux, which is into chronic therapy areas like I would say neuro-psychiatry.
Yeah.
We also have a pharma distributor, Noble Plus, which is pretty much among the largest in the Western India in terms of retail pharmacy. And then we have a core injectables manufacturing player, onco and injectables like Saka. So that's on the pharmaceutical side. If I look at healthcare services, again, these are, it's a stellar portfolio, portfolio of companies in single specialty as well as in diagnostic services.
Yeah.
In single specialty, we have MOC, Mumbai Oncocare, which is today India's largest medical oncology chain.
Correct.
We have AKC, Apex Kidney Care, which is India's number 2 in terms of the chain of dialysis care.
Yeah.
And on the diagnostic side, we decided to back integrated regional diagnostic companies, but which have a good standing in that region. So up north we have Atulaya, which is also into Jammu, Srinagar, Shimla, those kind of areas. The accessibility is a big issue. And down south, it's mainly a Chennai-focused company called as Anderson, but they have the largest market share in the PET CT in radiology, etc. So that's on the healthcare services. And finally, if I talk about, say, in the medtech and health tech, I think in medtech, clearly we've played the India indigenization theme. We backed one of the largest players in the catheter space, catheter medical devices. So they are also exporting to the US. So I would say their competitors are largely the multinationals, essentially. And in the health tech, we've decided to back a platform company which has a very solid regulatory standing. Like they have a US FDA approved platform, and they have, I would say they are addressing the pain points on global disease, especially on the TB side. So they are addressing the global TB burden in a way. So this is the way in which we've gone about building some of these market-leading companies.
But still at the back of the 2 theses of domestic consumption,
competency, and within that addressing these particular themes, to give you that perspective.
Excellent. So you've invested almost in 18, 19 companies over the last...
Yes, over the journey across 2 funds, close to about 18, 19 companies.
Right. And if you have to, maybe if you can share what is that you would look at when you invest in companies, what are the 2 or 3 important criteria when you look at diligence, when you do the diligence, how important is the financial diligence, but how important is the also the promoter's background or the commercial side of the business as well. So how do you look at what are the focus areas on the diligence?
Understood. So what I would say is, as an institutional investor, we will undertake the standard both internal, external diligence. Right? Generally, we have a very, I would say, experienced investment committee.
Yeah.
So, we go to the investment committee, prior to term sheet signing, and then, post term sheet, we present all the diligence. Specifically in terms of the diligences that we do, those would be the standard.
Correct.
The financial, commercial, legal,
yeah.
You have plant audits and stuff like that. But I think what is at the core of the diligence, I probably want to highlight maybe 2-3 aspects. I think at the end of the day, when we do our business model sensitivity, right, when we say that the company is going from point A to point B, I think what are those 1 or 2 levers that will take the company to that level in terms of scalability, and can this company continue to sustain with capital, even beyond, even after we have gone. So we wouldn't want to think about this company's existence only till the time we are invested, even beyond that. So we want to leave a growth story beyond. So what is it that will take the company closer to public markets? Because we are generally investing in that mid-market space. So not all of our companies will be, will be exiting through from an IPO route, but can this company hit that particular size where it can eventually then attract more investors? So what is that 1 or 2 moat that is there?
The team is important.
Sorry?
The team is very important.
Yes, absolutely. So what is important is also from a team perspective, I think the founding team and the management team, how much skin is the team is there.
Correct.
In terms of not just financial, but also in terms of the time that they are spending. Right? And finally, from an exit standpoint, I would say, while obviously we look at exitability and stuff like that, what is that path to exitability? Can we get that sort of visibility even at the initial stages itself, that kind of an alignment, the exit alignment, etc. I think these are 3, and these are all very business-oriented things which will become the crux of our decision making, right? At the end of the day, whatever gaps that come out from a financial DD or from this broadly, I think if it is solvable over a period of time, I think we will work towards solving that.
So maybe a leading question to that, Visa, is how much, and maybe I don't know if you have an answer for that, but how much weightage would you put to the management and the promoter or the founding team, as you said, and how much weightage would you put to the business and the business model?
I think management is clearly 50% and more. Clearly. I would at least
that's consistent with a lot of people.
That is something which
that's quite a lot.
And it takes time to build that.
You engage early with the...
which is also another aspect, when you ask me this concept of our investment thesis, a core part of our investment thesis is, can we source proprietary transactions?
Yes.
In fact, 60% of the transactions that we have done in our Fund 2 have been sourced by the team or through the advisors.
You've not had a banker involved.
So effectively, that when I say source means effectively we have sat with the management teams, we've sat with the founders, engaged with them, and talked about the way forward, etc. It could be, as much as like 6 to 9 months to as much as a few years. So then you're able to lead that particular transaction, and this, because of this particular characteristics, we've been the lead investor in all the 10 investments that we've done. And that is again a very, I would say, a very important part of our philosophy. It's not that it is a must-have, but it's something which is, this is how it has happened. But, we will be open also to collaborating on that.
Excellent.
I think moving on, I think the sector that you are here in Visa is definitely an impact sector from a social perspective. Because I work in the ESG side, my question to you is, on social side, a huge impact that you are doing as at a fund level. But what are some of the ESG considerations that you're doing at the fund level as well as at the portfolio level?
So ESG and, more ESG and impact, something which we have integrated. And this is something as a thinking, I think we have sharpened over the last 5-7 years or so, and that has, I think, thanks to consultants like yourselves, we work along with a few partners, and also the fact that we have LPs who are impact LPs. About 40% of our investors or LPs are, either impact or healthcare focused LPs. So it becomes natural. And healthcare per se, because it has an unmet need, because there is, it addresses pain points, etc., addresses a disease challenge, there is automatically an impact angle. But I think on a conscious basis, we took 2 commitments, and this has been with the help of our LPs, right? So who have come on board. So one core commitment that we took is saying that for every $1 million that we invest, can we create an X number of jobs? So there was a target, and we are now at nearly double of that target.
Amazing.
And second is, because it's a healthcare sector, we said that can we grow health beneficiaries by double digit? So below these 2 targets, I think there were like 150 odd KPIs, etc., which are being put together. And obviously, some of the key, if I may talk about some of the metrics that we follow, right? In terms of, at least in the last 3-4 years that we have done this entire analysis, and the monitoring and the measurement, we've seen that we've had a high teens growth in health beneficiaries. We've done like 45-50 jobs for every $1 million, and these are skill jobs for every $1 million invested. We're seeing the growth in proportion of women in the portfolio company, right, has grown by like 25-30%, and women represent close to 30% of the entire portfolio company, employee base, etc. So these are certain things that we have I think evolved. It's a constant evolving thing. Specifically to you on ESG, I think we track what is the maturity level. Yeah. So there are no particular metrics, but it's an ESG diligence as part of our every diligence that we undertake. So is there is it like mid maturity, high maturity, etc. So, and that we are getting guided going forward.
Excellent.
So that's the way we are working on it.
Absolutely.
That's pretty impressive. And you were tracking this. You have, I think, you earlier mentioned there's 140 matrices also that you track.
Yes, and this gets, I would say, reported during our annual investor session.
I think very few investors are doing impact measurement.
Yes.
I think I'm very happy to hear that you are really doing those impact measurement as well.
Okay, so Visha, we spoke also in one of our earlier conversations that Tata Capital Healthcare Fund is largely following a capital plus model. What does that really mean, right? As far as you getting involved with your portfolio companies, both at an operational level as well as strategy level?
Sure. So essentially, we are active investors, not just passive investors. So effectively, and there are, I think, we want to, I would say, help the management team and the entrepreneur scale. So a lot of the things in terms of the business plan, the long-term direction, etc., setting has already happened, even before we sort of, do the investment. But obviously, it's a very, very dynamic phase, right? There will be changes that is there every 6 months, 1 year, etc. But broadly, I think from a strategic direction standpoint, right? Like, are we keeping our eye in terms of, does the company need additional funding? Can we help in terms of M&A? Can we help in terms of, connecting them with potential strategic partners? So, our domestic formulation company, Linex, they recently acquired one of the small pharma companies. So actually this entire, I would say, the deal came through us, and eventually the team
even buy versus build decision making, right?
Absolutely, those kind of furthers. Or for that matter, the acquisition that MOC did with HOC, when they acquired centers in Ahmedabad, and so that was also led by the team. So overall, I would say strategic thinking, direction, where is the help in, that's a very key aspect. Another aspect I think which we are very, very particular about is, the entire aspect of, the governance setting,
Yeah.
right at the start in terms of, is the MIS as per
Reporting.
how we want to MIS reporting. If need be, we bring in an external consultant to sort of work on that bit. Is the audit, internal audit function, all that streamlined? Are there gaps in terms of talent, etc.? So those are some of the things that we work on, and it's a very, very regular portfolio. I wouldn't use the word monitoring, but discussion with the management, and every discussion is, I would say, there are new things to learn on both the sides, so.
Yeah, well, that's phenomenal. And I've seen that in some of our engagements with you, the way you engage with your portfolio companies and
Yes.
your hands-on involvement. So I
Yeah,
think
and
that's phenomenal.
thanks to Protivity as well, you've helped us phenomenally in terms of internal audit function, be it in terms of, MIS handling with our portfolio. So
No, our pleasure.
thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, Visa.
Yeah, I think my question to you is amazing to see a woman leader in the healthcare sector. Would love to understand your views as to how you are advocating for more women leadership to come in the healthcare sector and especially at your fund level.
So, I don't want to talk about statistics. I think everybody knows about the statistics, right? So I would say clearly the representation, not just in private equity, is very, very small. But I'm happy to note that I think there were a lot at a mid-level and at a junior level. There's a lot of women representation. But at a leadership level, still, I would say there are very few women partners who are running funds, right? So that is there with us, right? So, and the statistics are there. But it's, the way I look at it is, in today's context, it's not just a good to have. It's something which you cannot ignore, right? Having a diverse and a balanced team, because 50% of your consumer is a woman, right? So,
Exactly.
and literally, and especially in this digital age, the consumer is anonymous, right? So you wouldn't know, and it could hurt you economically if you don't have a balanced kind of a thing. So I've, being part of the Tata Group, I think this is something which, I've been fortunate and, been involved in a lot of, internal mentorship programs, etc. But representing on the board of portfolio companies, obviously, from a governance standpoint, do they have a posh policy? Do they have are they recruiting to a balance? This, having said that, I often receive, I would say, pushback from a couple of the entrepreneurs, especially where it's a very, very domestic marketing heavy companies, you still have this. But I said, just keep trying, see wherever it is possible. On the other hand, the healthcare services, I think you have phenomenal diversity in that.
Yes.
So I think these are things which we are conscious of. I think we also try and say, and as a fund also, as a woman leader, I'm happy to note that I think we have like 35% representation of women in our team itself, and trying to do our best, I think, going forward. So that's the way I would look at it.
Excellent. Great.
No, thanks, Visa. So any sort of learnings that you've had from investing in the healthcare industry, which have also in some way, paved the way for future investments or future decision making? So some of the sectors or some of the mistakes probably you would have made in the earlier investments. Anything that you would want to share?
So let me maybe share a few points in terms of learnings as an investor, because having seen companies, and it's not that we've had the best of the results in all the companies. We've made our mistakes, right? So, and I think what has stuck is that just capital is not enough.
Correct.
Capital plus value add, that's making a big difference, and we are seeing that in private equity run companies, and I think there are a lot of statistics with this. I think what's happening is we are, I think the big thing for us that has made a difference, and I think it's a big learning, is can we, and because we are a single sector focused investor, can we identify where there is a business model shift? MOC is a classic example of a business model shift.
moving to
you
medical.
literally, you didn't have, I would say, chain of medical oncology private, this existing before. MOC is like, had that early head start, and I'm sure now there will be
So you
other
had
chains that will come
HCGs,
in
which is
literally.
full blown.
Yes, it's a fully. So you are addressing 50% of the oncology market, but it's asset light. It's, not capex intensive, and you're taking it out of the hospital system, and and they have successfully expanded.
It's more futuristic also. A lot of people are moving away from surgeries.
Yeah. So literally like a cancer concierge service, and it's something which is very close to the heart, right? So these kind of business model shifts, and can we identify just one or two modes is enough for you to for the I would say the company to generate that particular, the best of the returns. I think that's, at the end of the day, being a public markets investor for 15, 16 years and now a private market investor, I think, that learning is, I think, across the spectrum. It's always those few things that make the big difference, I think, so as this. I think also what's a big learning, and I have seen the sector, I would say from 2008, 9, 10, India used to attract not even a few $100 million of private capital in healthcare. And today, every year, for the last, I think, 4-5 years, we've been attracting $5+ billion. A couple of years back, it used to be like $6 billion. During the COVID time, it was like $6.5 billion of, this. And I think, and this is the way the sector has sort of, I would say, moved forward, and I think private capital has played a very, very important
role. Confidence has grown in the sector, I think.
Absolutely. And but at the same breath, I would say that it's important that compromise on ethics, compromise on equity, compromise on governance, etc. I think companies who are doing that have paid a heavy price.
Agreed.
So this is something, again, a very, very important learning. So clearly, in terms of having a good house from a longer term, it's important to set that strong foundation. And finally, I would add that as an investor, exit is so important. And while you may have the best deal, finally to execute on the exit is when you're so execution timelines, I think one needs to be extremely sharply focused on. So I think those are my bits in terms of learning so far.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Vishal. So it was wonderful to have you with us. While we will love to ask more questions, but in the interest of time, we'll probably bring it to a close. My last question, and you may choose not to answer, is you've done so much work in healthcare for 30 years. Is there anything that is left that you would still want to do? You've achieved so much, you've co-authored books, you've led, I think this is phenomenal the way Tata Capital has been awarded multiple awards under your leadership. Anything that is left to do in the sector?
I would say, I think it's important. I want to sort of move towards the karma of healthcare, right? Doing towards that as a going forward, right? So looking at, more in terms of how can you give back through healthcare, that kind of a thing. I think, these are.
I think you've already given back. So, you've already given back to healthcare. I think you can only do more, is what I would say, because being from an ESG and from a developmental sector background, I think the healthcare sector is all about social impact. So I think you've done your karma, you're going to do more of it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.